So Colin, from me to you, this is Colin Sadler, the Birmingham Perspective. When I first met Colin, it was about 10 years ago, he weighed 8 stone. Through a rigorous bodybuilding campaign over the last 10 years, you see before you a beautiful man today. At that time, I don't know if many of your friends, family, may have come up to see Colin, and he ran a pub at that time with Mr. DL there, Pete over there, called the Old Varsity Tavern in Birmingham. Don't know if any of you came up to see Colin at that time. When I say ran it, Pete sort of stood at the bar and Colin was kind of senior glass collector. 8 stone Colin and pipe cleaner Pete. A couple of twiglets at the bar. They stood there and looked out over their empire. They had the power to decide who did and didn't come in. Or was it the dozen Neanderthal brummy bouncers they employed? One of the two. But all good things come to an end. The Old Varsity Tavern moved on to new hands. And Colin and Pete went their separate ways. Colin went down to London, I understand, some East End brewery, Isle of Sheppey. And Pete got a job with Wolverhampton and Dudley breweries in the Black Country. But within a couple of years, they were back together. It was at this time my suspicions about Colin and Pete were first aroused. Strange things started to happen. Colin joined the Varsity chain, set up by Pete, sort of reliving old times. They set up this chain of pubs called the Varsity, and they ran it together. No sooner had they done that than Colin, under the guise of a beautiful girl called Anne, moved in four houses down in the same road. Pete lived with Heidi, but we all knew that was cover. At first, I thought it was just a young man's infatuation with the older guy. Pete being 76, there was a huge age gap. But nothing in this modern era. But then the tide began to turn. Anne started to take a bit of control. Pete became jealous. Pete became the chaser. Colin got a new phone. Pete had to have the same one. Ring Colin, get 1 digit wrong, you get Pete. A little bit worrying, I think. Then Colin decided to get a new car. Pete thought he'd get a new car. Independently, they both went for a dark green Jag. Registrations 1 digit apart. Oh. I love you, Pete. But anyway, we were pretty pleased that Anne came along and sorted all this out. I know, was that the sort of build-up you were hoping for, Colin? Anyway, Anne, it's beautiful, and we love you, and we're glad you came along. But beware, when the first dance comes along, Pete is planning to hijack it. But without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Mr. Sadler. He has been waiting, sweating, he's got some cards. Please give a big, warm hand to Mr. Colin Sadler.